If you're like me and you grew up in the 80s, the Space Shuttle was fantastic. On this episode, we will take a walk around and take a look at it and its history. The journey pretty much started on June 4th, 1974. The test orbiter began construction and was completed on September 17th, 1976. By the way, that test orbiter, OV-101, was named Enterprise. Perfect. Mounted on top of a modified Boeing 747, the Enterprise would release from the 747 and glide to the runway, proving its ability to land after deorbiting. Now, being just a test vehicle for glide tests, no thermal tiles, we'll get to those in a moment, were installed, nor were any working engines. The whole assembly consisted of the orbiter vehicle, a giant external fuel tank, and 2 solid rocket boosters. Behold, the world's biggest gas tank. The external fuel tank housed a forward liquid oxygen tank, an unpressurized center tank for most of the electrical components, and an aft liquid hydrogen tank. Once the fuel was expended, it would jettison and be left to burn up on re-entry. One of the reusable components were the solid rocket boosters. Mounted to the sides of the external fuel tank, they provided the majority of the thrust to get it into orbit. Once their job was done, the shuttle's main engines would take it the rest of the way. And finally, we have the orbiter itself. Called a flying brick by many, it contained the crew and an expansive cargo bay for launch and recovery of satellites. It also had 3 main engines to help it achieve orbit. Covered in thermal tiles, the shuttle would take a bumpy ride through the atmosphere. Those tiles would take the heat of re-entry, protecting the ship and crew. As fantastic as the Space Shuttle was, it was far from perfect or the reusable, cheap, easy access to space we were hoping for. On January 28, 1986, the Challenger was destroyed just after the first minute of liftoff. That morning was unusually cold for Florida, and despite warnings not to launch due to possible compromising of the O-rings in the solid rocket boosters, Challenger lifted off. With a break in the seal, hot gas escaped from the solid rocket booster and weakened the attachment point. The booster then punctured the external fuel tank, causing the explosion. The violent force of the explosion broke up the orbiter. The crew capsule, with the crew mostly alive, hit the water at terminal velocity. Francis Scobie, Michael Smith, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Judith Resnick, Gregory Jarvis, and school teacher Krista McAuliffe were lost in the tragedy. The shuttle Columbia was lost upon re-entry on February 1st, 2003. As Columbia lifted off, a piece of insulation foam from the external fuel tank broke off and struck the leading edge of Columbia's left wing. When Columbia made its return, heat from atmospheric gas weakened the internal structure of the wing. This made the craft unstable and caused it to break apart. This resulted in the loss of the crew: Rick Husband, William McCool, Michael Anderson, Kalpana Chawla, David Brown, Laurel Clark, and Ilan Ramon. Despite these tragedies, the Space Shuttle was a remarkable creation. Retired in 2010, it will be remembered fondly by those who worked on it, flew it, and who were inspired by it. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and and the bell notification icon for updates on future episodes. Also, go to our Patreon link in the description of this video. For $1 a month, you have a chance to potentially win $1,000 if I hit my 20,000 Patreon members goal, or a secondary prize of $100 worth of gifts from my online store. So let's get that started. And I will see you next time.